Hey, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful Celtic Weave basket. The hook that I'm using is a 9mm crochet hook, and this is a furl streamline hook. And the yarn that I'm going to be using is Dishie Worsted Weight 100% cotton, and I will be holding 3 strands together to create this nice, thick, and heavy, sturdy basket. So here is the smallest size. The pattern includes 3 sizes, and you can go over to the blog and check that out. This is the smallest size, this is the largest size, and I'll be doing the medium size in this tutorial today. I wanted to show you this little trick if you're only working from 1 ball of yarn but need to get the 3-strand thickness. So this allows you to work with any yarn. You can just triple it up by doing this. So you're going to lay your yarn out. You want to get 3 pieces lined up, so it's basically a large S shape. You just want to put them together so we now have 3 strands. You'll notice at the end here you have this loop. What you're going to do is just pull the working yarn through, got a little tangle there, so just keep pulling it through, and as you work through the yarn you'll keep coming to that loop and you just keep pulling yarn through as you go. And then you've easily made super bulky yarn from worsted weight yarn. Now, because the medium size basket, I'm going to need more than 3 balls. I'm going to work from my 3 balls at one time, but then I'm going to use this trick here to finish off the basket because I only need a small amount of the 4th ball to finish it off. So this is just a helpful little tip so you don't have to separate your balls into 3, and you can use any yarn you want. So I've pulled my 3 strands from the center of the ball. A big clump came out of each of them, but it's still going to work out easier to work from the center of the ball rather than them flopping all around working from the outside. So what we're going to do is begin with a magic ring. So I'm going to take the yarn and wrap it around my index finger 3 times. I'll take my hook, sliding it through all 3 loops. Grab your first loop, pull it through. Now I'll chain 1. Now in this ring, I'm going to work 12 double crochet. My stitch pattern is worked in a multiple of 4, so all sizes will begin with that 12 stitches in the round. So I'll single crochet around my 12 stitches and then I'll meet you up. Now it'll be a bit tight getting all 12 stitches in, but just do your best. Then what I'm going to do is try and move my work out of the way the best I can. And I will pull the tail. Now 3 of my loops are going to pull in and then 3 of them aren't. So make sure you find the ones that we're pulling in. And when you pull them, it should pull those other loops in as well. Now this, you're going to have to give this a really good tug because it's so tight with all 12 stitches. Then what you'll do is take your tail. I can get myself untangled here. Take your tail, pull, it's going to pull that other loop in, and now you have a nice tight circle that's not going to come loose. So now you want to find your first single crochet. If you're not sure, you can always count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we'll slip stitch to join. And things will be a little tight here at the beginning. Then we'll chain 1. Now what you're going to do is work 2 single crochet in every stitch around. So you'll be increasing to 24 stitches. You may have to wiggle a little bit to get your hook in. It is going to be tight. You'll just need to have some patience on these first few rounds. Okay, so I'll finish working 2 single crochets in every stitch around off camera. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I've counted that I have 24 stitches, and we'll slip stitch to join. And here's just a little tip that if you want this join to really blend well, you can do a reverse slip stitch. So instead of going through front to back, you can go back to front. Now just keep your yarn to the front of your work. Push your hook through, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then we'll chain 1. So it's actually just really going to hide this join, and you'll like the finished look of it. So now what we're going to do, because this is starting to wave out, we want the base of our basket to lay flat. So we're going to work now a round of just a single crochet in every stitch. So work 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 24 stitches all the way around. So I'll complete this again off camera, and then we'll meet back up at the join. Okay, so I've worked around 24 stitches. I'm going to do a reverse slip stitch join again, pushing my hook through the first single crochet stitch from the back to the front, and then grabbing the yarn, keeping that yarn to the front of my work. Chain 1. Okay, so now for this round, we're going to do another increase. So we'll work a single crochet in the first stitch, and then we'll work 2 single crochet in the next. So our repeat pattern will be 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next. So we'll increase by another 12 stitches, increasing up to 36 stitches in total. So I'll complete that off camera and meet you up again. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I have a total of 36 stitches. I'll do a reverse slip stitch to join. Chain 1, and for the next round, we'll work just 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So this is how our increase pattern will go. We'll do a round of increases, but then we'll balance it out with a round of no increases at all. And that'll just really help this to lay flat. So I'll now work a round of just single crochets in every stitch around for a total of 36 stitches. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. We'll do a reverse slip stitch to join. Now, if you're finding this tricky, it is the base. It's just the base of the basket, so it's not a big deal if you do the regular. Sometimes it can be hard to get through because we have all of these strands. Chain 1, and now we're going to do another increase round. So this time the increase pattern goes up that we have two stitches before we do our double. So a single crochet in the first, a single crochet in the next, and then work 2 single in the next. And I'm finally through all of my mess, so now things will start to go a little bit smoother. I had to do a little untangling as I went, but now it should go smoothly. So let's work 1 in the next, 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next. So we'll be increasing another 12 stitches, going up to a total of 48. So I'll just repeat this off camera and meet you up when I've completed this round. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I'm going to reverse slip stitch to join. And at this point, if you're making the smallest basket, that was your final increase. So now I'm just going to work one single crochet in every stitch around. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. I've already slip stitched and chained one. And now this is going to be our final increase. So we'll work a single crochet in the first stitch, in the next two, sometimes you'll find you'll have to give these a little pull to loosen them up if you're getting a tangle. And then work two in the next stitch. So our repeat pattern, one in each of the next three. And two in the next. So we'll be increasing another 12 stitches, and you should have a total of 60 when you complete this round. Okay, so I'm just finishing this round. I've now increased to 60 stitches, which is as many as we need for the medium basket. This time I'm going to chain two. And this round, we're going to work half double crochets into every stitch around. So no more increases. We're just going to work half doubles, and that's going to set us up for our cabling pattern. So yarn over, go through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pulling through all three loops on the hook. And you want to just count, make sure that you have 60 stitches because you'll need that multiple of 4 for the the cabling pattern to work out correctly. So I'm going to finish that off camera and I'll meet you up. Okay, so I've worked around my 60 stitches. I'm just going to get rid of this tail before I get going. You can leave it to the end, but I'm just going to get it out of the way. I just like to go. I've already crocheted over it a bit, so you probably could just weave it back in the opposite direction, but I'm just going to weave it a little bit more this way and then just go back in the opposite direction. And then you can just give it a trim. Get that dealt with and out of the way so you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so now you can slip stitch to join once you've finished your half double crochet round. And we're slip stitching in the top of the first half double crochet, so we're not slip stitching into the chain. And sometimes it can be a little tricky to get it pulled through. Okay, now I'm going to chain 3. And this chain 3 will not be counted as a stitch throughout the pattern. Okay, so now we're beginning the setup round for our cabling. The entire cabling pattern will be worked in front post treble crochets. So if you're already familiar with that stitch, you're set to go. If not, I'll work through that stitch slow just so you get the hang of it. So what we'll be doing is skipping these first 2 posts that you see here. Okay, so here's our chain. This is the first post after the chain. We'll be working into the next 2. So this stitch and this stitch. So we'll yarn over twice, make sure we're skipping 2, and then we're going down, underneath, and coming back up, okay? So the hook is going under this post. Now we're going to yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, okay? So that is a front post treble crochet. So let's go through it slow one more time. Yarn over twice, going under that post stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now what we'll do is work back into these skipped stitches, and we're going over top, so in front of the stitch. Working a front post treble crochet. Guys, say the rest of the pattern for the cabling is all worked in front post trebles. So now I'm going around that second skip stitch. Okay, so we've made our first sort of X, I like to call it. It's crossing over. Then what we're going to do, this is just going to be repeated all the way around. So we're skipping 2 stitches, 1, 2, yarn over twice, going into the 3rd and the 4th. So front post treble, front post treble, and then back into those skip stitches. Now it is a little tricky working with the 3 strands of yarn. You could substitute a nice heavy super bulky weight yarn for this pattern and it would work well. Something like Lion brand Woolly is Thick and Quick would work well. I just like the feel of this and look of this cotton for home decor. So I've just went and tripled it to get it to that thickness, that super bulky thickness that I wanted. Okay, so I've made another X here, and you just want to repeat that now all the way around. So you're skipping 2, working 2 front post trebles, then working back. Okay, so I'm going to complete that off camera and then I'll meet you up for the next round. Okay, so I've worked all the way around. So I'm ending here with my crossover. Now what we're going to do is find that first front post treble. Here's our chain 3. There is the top of the stitch. We want to slip stitch into that, not the chain. So we're going to slip stitch to join. Now it doesn't matter if you are doing just the regular slip stitch, you're not going to notice it. And we'll chain 3. Okay, so now this is probably the trickiest round we're going to do, so just pay attention. Work through it really slow. So we're going to start out by skipping the first 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're skipping over that entire X, and then we'll be working into these 2 that are hidden underneath here. Okay, so front post trebles, again, the entire pattern's worked with the front post treble stitch. So we're going to be going into these 2 stitches here. The first one, and front post treble around the next. Okay, so now we're going to go back into the 3rd and 4th skip stitch. So these are going to be left for when we come around to the join. So don't worry about those 2 stitches. We'll pick them up at the end. Now we're going to work into these 2 stitches, but we're going to go in behind now instead of in front. So this is what makes it a little bit trickier to maneuver. What I like to do is push these stitches to the front so I can see the stitches that are in behind. So you'll notice in the pattern, it'll say working in behind. We're going to work now a front post treble in the 3rd skip stitch and the 4th skip stitch. Okay, so push your work to the front so you can see those stitches. And it is a little tricky, I'm not going to lie, to get them, but as you get used to doing it, it will come a little bit easier. So yarn over twice and get that next one. Okay, so now if you take a look here, those stitches are going to be coming up underneath. So you'll know you've done it correctly if that's happening like this. So now we'll skip over the next 2 stitches here that are unworked and work in the next 2. And so when we're going over top, when we're skipping, we should be grabbing these ones that are underneath. So yarn over twice. Then this will be our repeat pattern now around. Get the next one. Okay, and then we're going back into those 2 skip stitches. So yarn over twice, push your work to the front so you can see them. Yarn over twice, grab that next one, and complete your front post treble. Okay, so if we push our work forward again, we can see these stitches coming up underneath, and you're really going to start to see the weave starting to happen. So now we'll skip the next 2, work the next 2, and just repeat that all the way around. Okay, so I'm coming around to the last 2 stitches. So here I finished my underneath stitches. We have these 2 that are going over top. And if you look on the other side of the chain, here are the 2 stitches, first 2 stitches we skipped at the beginning of the round. So what we're gonna do is yarn over twice, and we're gonna work through those stitches. Okay, and then we'll come back and work the 2 stitches that we skipped. And this is going to make the basket just seamlessly work all the way around in this weave stitch pattern, so you're not even going to see the join. The chain 3 will be hidden behind all of these cables. Okay, you can see that now just blends. So find your chain. We're going to slip stitch in the top of the first front post treble to join, and chain 3. Okay, so now we're on to the 3rd round of the cable, and this is a little bit easier than the last round. But what we'll do is we'll start off again by skipping the first 4 stitches. Now you'll see we're going to be picking up these stitches that are coming over top. So front post treble into that 5th and 6th stitch. Okay, and now this time we're going over top instead of in behind, and that makes it a little easier. You're going to see the 3rd and 4th skip stitch that are tucked in behind. Okay, so those are the ones that we're grabbing. We'll pick up the first 2 on the join again. So we're going over top, which just makes it a little bit quicker to maneuver this round. And you just have to really be mindful when you're doing this pattern that you're not skipping any. I found, even myself, I was watching TV working this pattern, and I would find myself sometimes missing, picking up a couple trebles. So just be mindful as you go that you're always completing that X every time. So now we're skipping over these 2 that are underneath, and again, we're working into these ones coming up over top. So yarn over twice, front post treble, front post treble, and then we're going over top, and we're getting these 2 that we skipped, and they'll be tucked in there. Okay, so now you can just repeat this all the way around. So we skip the 2 that are tucked underneath, and always those ones coming up over top. It's just nice to kind of familiarize yourself with how the stitches look, and then it'll be easier to kind of eyeball it out and work through the pattern quickly, knowing that you're doing it correctly. So if you've been able to get the last round and get this round, you're on your way, because this is now just a 2-row repeat. So we'll be repeating the second row and the third row of the cable throughout, and working this pattern in the round makes it so easy. So I'm just going to continue working that around now, and I'll meet you up on the join. Okay, I've come all the way around to my last 2 stitches. You'll see them there tucked underneath. Here's my chain, and here are the 2 first skip stitches of that round. So now's the time we want to pick them up. So work a treble in the first and in the next. And then we'll come back to these 2 that we skipped and work a treble. Front post treble in the next. Okay, so then we need to find the chain, find the top stitch of the first front post treble, slip stitch to join, and chain 3. Okay, so now all we're doing is working a repeat of round 2 and 3 throughout. So I'll just go through round 2 one more time with you just to refresh your memory. So we're skipping over 4. We need to work into these ones that are tucked below this time. And we need to go in behind this time. So we're working into those skip stitches, the 3rd and 4th. Okay, again, they're coming up in behind, so you know you've done that correctly. So now what you want to do is a total of 7 rounds of the cable. I'm going to just show you how you can really easily count. These chains are going to just curve up the side, but again, we're not going to notice them because of the style of the pattern. They're all hidden in behind. So you can count. We have these big chains that are really easy to find, so that's an easy way to count. So we have 1, 2, we worked 3 rounds already. Here's the 4th that I've started. So that's how you just want to flip your work. If you're not sure how many rounds you've done, just come back here, count your chains, and you'll know. So I want you to do a total of 7 for the medium size. So as you can see, it's starting to curve up now, looking more like a basket. So it's going to take a bit of time to work up those rounds. So I'm going to work them off camera, and then I'll meet you back up just to show you how I finished the top edge of my basket. Okay, so I've worked up a total of 7 rounds for the cable, and you can go and count your chains just to make sure. Another little tip, I count the bars going this way, 1, 2, 3, and I have 4 for this size. So we're ending on the bars going in this direction. So now what we're going to do, you can see it's nice and sturdy. It stands up really well. If you're finding for any reason yours seems really floppy, that might mean that you need to go down a hook size just to tighten up your stitches. So now we'll chain 1, and we're going to work herringbone single crochet stitches to finish off this pattern. What I like about the herringbone single crochet is that it is a really thick, bulky stitch, so it matches sort of up with the bulkiness of the cables. If you're really struggling with the stitch, it is more advanced. You could always do regular single crochets. It just they won't have the same amount of bulk. So we'll start it with a single. And then what you're going to do is go through that second bar and through the next stitch, pulling up a loop. Okay, so now you should have, if this wasn't triple stranded, it would be 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through. Now you want to keep this stitch nice and loose so that it's easy to work into the bars of the stitch. So now there should be 3, 1, 2, 3, and we'll go through the last one again, and then through the next stitch. Pull up a loop. I like to give it a tug, pulling that last loop up nice and high, yarn over and pull through. And that should be really easy to work into. So I'm going to continue working this all the way around, and I'll meet you up at the join. Okay, so I'm finishing up this round and I'm almost to the end of my 3 balls of yarn. I'm just going to pull that out because my stitch is a little too tight to work into. So I'm going to come around here, finishing up. And now we'll be slip stitching to join, but because I'm almost to the end of my ball, I'm going to pull through with, we're going to need to go into that 4th ball of yarn, and I'm going to do this little trick that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So I have all 3 strands lined up, and then what I'm going to do is just pull through on the slip stitch join. Now I'll chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. Now we're going to do the reverse herringbone single crochet stitch. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're working now from the back to the front, okay? So we're going to go through and do a reverse single crochet to start with. So I'm keeping my yarn to the front. I'm going to push my hook from the back to the front. I'm going to grab my yarn, pulling it through. I'm going to give that hook a full rotation, yarn over, and pull through. Now if you take a look at your work, again, if you find this too difficult, go ahead and just do another round of the herringbone single crochet. The regular way, the reverse herringbone single crochet, is a little tricky. So what we're going to do now is find that second bar again. We're going to push our hook through. We're going to go under the stitch, so we're going back to front, pushing that through. So we should be going under the stitch. There should be this little loop here. Now what we're going to do is always make sure you're holding this yarn to the front of your work. We're just going to grab the yarn, pull it through. It is a little tricky with all these strands. Pull it up. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. You want to make sure that you keep these stitches nice and loose so that it's easy to work into these bars. So we have 1, 2, 3 bars now. We're going through the 3rd. Again, make sure you keep this yarn to the front. Go under the stitch from back to front. Grab that yarn, pull it through, do a full rotation of your hook. You now have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And then we're just going to continue. It's going to be slow, but the look is really cool. I love the look of it. If you find that this is too challenging, that's okay. Do single crochets, do the other herringbone single crochet, and that would be fine as well. But if you are out for a little adventure and want to challenge yourself, try this stitch. And maybe you've already learned it from one of my other tutorials and you're already a pro. And it does make it a little tricky, I'm not going to lie, with all of these strands. So this is definitely advanced, working with all of these strands of yarn. So all we're going to do now is work in the reverse herringbone stitch all the way around. As we get to the end of this loop, again, what you're just going to do is keep pulling through more yarn, because we're not going to need very much to finish off this basket. It's too bad we couldn't have made it with the 3 balls, but we do need a little extra to finish it off. So you are going to need that 4th ball. So this trick to make the worsted into super bulky is really helpful for this size. So I'm going to complete the rest of that off camera and then I'll meet you up again. Okay, so I've worked all the way around, and now instead of slip stitching to join, I'm going to fasten off. Pull that through. Take your yarn needle. Now what we're going to do is go under the full stitch, and then we're going to come back going through the back loop only. Okay, and then you can see that it's going to just seamlessly continue looking like a stitch. Then what we're going to do is just take all of these tails in behind here. We're going to weave them. So I'm going to finish doing that off camera, and then I'll meet you back up again to show you an option for adding some little handles. Okay, so your finished top edge should look like this. It's nice and thick, and it has that really cool fishtail braid look to it. So your basket should be nice and sturdy, and next we can add some little handles, but you don't have to, it's just optional. So I'm going to show you how to do that next. So we're going to need to have some more tripled up yarn again. So 2, 3. So if you just go like that, we can start pulling it through just like this. Because this time I'm not going to be putting this slip knot on my hook. I just want to join right in. So you can join into any stitch, it doesn't matter. Pull the yarn through. And now we're going to want to pull a tail. So we're going to need a fair amount of yarn here. Okay, so I want the tail to be about 28 to 30 inches. So I'm just going to grab my measuring tape. I'm just going to get situated here. So here's my tail. Here is the working yarn. So this is a simple way to make an I-cord. So we're going to just keep taking that tail, wrapping it over our hook. Take your yarn, pull it through, complete your single crochet. So again, we'll take the yarn over the hook. And I want you to do a total of 14 stitches. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have 14 now. Now what I'm going to do is I want a total of 10 stitches for my little handle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So what I'm going to do, sometimes it's helpful just to mark this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over with my tail. Go through the stitch, pull through, making a slip stitch with the working yarn. Now we can fasten this off. I'm going to pull that through. So now what you want to do is take this tail and let's weave it through to the inside. Okay. So now what we can do with these two tails, so I like to give them a knot, and then you can weave them down through your work to hide them. So the next step is adding our twine wrapped around the handle. So I'm going to use this jute cord. It's a 4 ply. I bought a bunch of these from Walmart, but you can purchase them on Amazon. I've even seen them at the dollar store. So lots of places you can pick that up. It's always nice just to have some on hand. Now what I've done is I've cut 2 strands for each handle, and it's about 40 inches. This is going to give you extra, but it's better to have a little too much than too little. So I've cut that about 40 inches. Now what I want you to do, now if you prefer your knot to the inside, I'll show you what my other basket looks like. Okay, so here's this basket, and I've done the little knots to the outside. If you prefer, do them to the inside, but I just like the little look it gives them. So in order to do that, we want this to poke through to the outside. If you need your hook to help, just take your hook and help just to get that pulled through. There we go. So now what you'll do is knot it. You want to make sure your knot is nice and tight. We can trim this tail after if we need to. And then what we're going to do is wrap around the cord we made. Now I am going to do 18 wraps in total, which should get me all the way around. So you're just going to keep weaving it, wrapping, and I'm letting you know how many I've wrapped just because if you're using the same amount of twine and cord. And you want both of your handles with the same number of wraps, so it's even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me double check my count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now, take your hook You can always try poking the end through, but sometimes that can be tricky too, so. It is a bit of it is a bit snug getting it through this way. So if you can poke it through, that's great, but if not. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is knot. Now as you can see, I have some extra, but that's good. You wanna have extra. Now what you're gonna find with this is it is gonna wanna twist and turn. To fix that, all you need to do is steam it. So I have a steamer I use for all sorts of things. So if you don't have one, I highly suggest picking up just a hand steamer, and you're gonna wanna steam it on both sides, and that is just gonna, like, it looks like it's not curling right now, but it's gonna wanna curve and do some weird things with the twist. So if you steam it, that's just gonna look after that for you. So then we can just trim this one. And now what you'll want to do is count over 20 stitches and do the next handle. Okay, so I counted over 20, and in the next stitch, I've already measured out my tail, so I have about 30 inches. I'm going to pull the yarn in. I like to keep my tail to the front, my working yarn to the back. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make that cord, and we want to make it a total of 14 stitches. Okay, so I have 14. I'm going to count over 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm just going to mark it again if I can find my marker. I just know I'll not remember the 10th stitch when I come back to do this. Okay, so we're yarning over, taking our tail, wrapping it over the hook, pulling that through. Give that tail a tug, and then we can fasten off. Pull this through, and again, we need to weave this tail to the inside of our work. So I've just knotted that, and I need to weave those tails, but I'm just going to do them after off camera, just so we can finish this up. And I also have another piece of twine here, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So we're just going to work through, see if I can poke that through without my hook. So you might be able to get that through. Nice tight knot. And then we'll begin wrapping again. And we want a total of 18 wraps. Okay, so I have all that finished. I have my tails woven in on the inside, and I just have to steam these. But I'm going to show you how to just now finish it off with a personalized tag. So these tags I have are from Brick Bubble. There'll be a link in the description box. And I get these leather rivets from Amazon. They come in a kit, and you will need to hammer them in place. For now, I'm just going to snap mine on. So when you get the little kit, it comes with all the tools that you need. You can also get tags that you sew on if you prefer. I just like how easy these are. Quick and easy. And that finishes off my little basket. So make sure to check out the description box for all the links. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell to stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.